Eile Masei b'nei Yisrael asher yotzu me'eretz Mitzrayim l'tivosam b'yad Moshe v'Aharon. In the second of the two sedras that we will read this forthcoming Shabbos Kodesh, that of Masei, we have a listing of all the places that Klal Yisrael journeyed from and ultimately encamped through the agency of Moshe and Aharon. And in addressing the need for such an enumeration, Rashi cites the Medrash Tanchuma that explains Moshe Lamelech could be likened to a king, and the king took the son to an ultimate destiny in order to afford him a sense of wellness. And on the way back after he had been remedied, the father turned to the son and began to remind him, saying to him, Kan yashananu, here we slept, Kan hokanu, here we were cold, Kan chashashta shrovshcha, here you had a headache. And asked Rav Schwab Zatzal, if it's simply a narration of all the places that they went, then should we not have had mentioned the place of the Kriyas Yamsuf, or the splitting of the sea, the place of the granting of the mun? So many different places that indeed etched a historical perspective and lesson for Klal Yisrael to understand and to afford oneself. And here, they're not even mentioned. So why are these things enumerated? Suggests Rav Schwab, those places, Kriyas Yamsuf, the place of the manna, why those places indeed were etched into our hearts, our souls, and our minds. They had ready meaning and a ready takeaway for us to appreciate. But there were so many places within the journey of Klal Yisrael from Egypt all the way ultimately to the land of Israel that should have had an impact upon us. When we shouldn't have been sleeping, but rather awake to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was performing on our behalf. When we shouldn't have had headaches simply understanding that our leader was being removed, but understanding the ramifications of such a passage of time. And so many encampments and so many journeys went by the wayside as if we never even experienced them. If this is the case, then perhaps little wonder that towards the close of the Sedra of Masei, we have the pasuk V'horashtem es haaretz, that when you make the transition from the eastern side of the Jordan River to its western side, V'horashtem es haaretz v'shaftem ba, that you will divest all of those to be found within, v'shaftem ba, in order that you be able to live there in accordance with the way Rashi learns. And according to the Ramban, it is the Chiyuv D'Oraisa. It is one of the Taryag mitzvos, one of the 613 mitzvos, to indeed inherit, settle the land. Because I've given it to you to inherit it and to appreciate it. In 1928, when a 22-year-old bacher, unmarried, by the name of Rav Yitzchak Hutner, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, was about to leave Hebron, he writes in one of his letters, Harbe me'ikre ashkafos b'das Torah uv'havonos hayadus nischabruli. He says so much of philosophies and understandings of the teachings of the Torah and the understandings of the Torah itself have been clarified for me. Specifically, Rak Hodos Lashposa Alai, because of the influence and the impact at the land of Israel, Eretz Yisrael, upon which I have been zocha to walk in these years, having been sent by the Alter Slobodka to be a bacher in the yeshiva of Hebron, had upon me. Shum shita, no philosophy, no posture. V'shum mora, no teacher. V'shum mechanech, no educator. Lo haya yachal kol kach, could have had the ability equally lachdor el toch tochius nishmasi, to pierce and penetrate and imbue me within the innermost sanctum of my soul, kamosha asasaz Eretz Yisrael, as the impact and the influence upon me that I have experienced by simply learning here and walking its streets. Mekomam ho'amiti shechaya Torah, the ultimate place of truth and veracity for the study and living of all that Torah affords us, directs us towards, and expects of us. If this is the case, and indeed it is so, then should we not, during these weeks, the 3 weeks, Bein HaMetzarim, as we count down towards that terribly, terribly mournful day of Tisha B'Av, when we will sit low and we will cry for that which we have lost, Eretz Yisrael b'shleimusa, Eretz Yisrael in its total experience with the Beis HaMikdash, with the Karbanos, with Klal Yisrael dwelling upon it. But should we not at least feel as we turn the calendar pages, and even as we sit this year low, amidst the tears that we shed for all that we have lost, should we not as well be so joyously grateful for what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us? For at the end of that long journey of 48 encampments, we should fully and appropriately appreciate the end game, the ultimate destination toward which we arrived, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has seen, Barov Chasto, Uvarov Ahavaso, with a boundless kindness and love that he has for each and every one of us as part of his glorious nation. Should we not fully appreciate just the bracha, the largesse of the blessing that he has bestowed upon us? Have a wonderful Shabbos.